Hey y'all, it's Miss Smith. So today I wanted to do an in-person video instead of just finding one on YouTube. And it's because a lot of the times when I find a YouTube video, it's something kind of simple, maybe something you've seen before. So it's just maybe the ones I found on YouTube are a little bit different than I taught it to you when you had it in chemistry. But today I wanted to talk about unit analysis or dimensional analysis. And so this is something that most of you really struggle with. And so I wanted to take the time to show you how to do it step by step, slow it down, show you some tips and tricks to make sure that you get this, because unit analysis or dimensional analysis in physics is essential. Okay, so when I was in high school and I took high school physics, a lot of the time I would forget what the formulas were to complete a problem. But if I knew how to cancel units and be able to convert between units, I could actually figure out the problem without remembering the equation. So it's super important in physics. So what I'm going to do is, so we'll go over just the basics of unit analysis. I'll do just some real simple stuff, a couple of conversions, and then I'm going to go into a couple of practice problems. And so then after you watch this video, you can go work on some practice problems yourself. Remember, you can always find me on Google Chat. That's the fastest way to get a hold of me. I'm not always in my classroom. I run all over campus helping other teachers with technology problems. So if you send me an email or like a comment on Google Classroom, I may not always get it, but if you send it in Google Chat, I'll get it immediately because it goes straight to my phone and it like a text message. So that if you'll go in your email, that bottom like left-hand corner, it'll say Hangouts or chat. You just hit that plus sign, type my name in, and then you can start, send me an invite to start a chat with you. And so that'll work great. It's super fast. We can even video call if we need to do like some one-on-one tutoring. So not a big deal. I'll take care of it. So let me go into my notebook here. Let me untangle my headphones. Sorry, y'all. I want to plug my headphones in so you can hear me a little bit better. Plus, they're doing construction right outside my window. So I'm trying to cancel that background now. So y'all hold on just a second. Okay, here we go. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is just give you like let's talk about units for a minute. Okay, so I know in chemistry we talked about SI units, and so, oh, that is huge. Let me try again. SI units. Now, if you remember, SI stands for Standard International Units. So these are universal units used throughout the world. And especially they're super important in science, because remember that like a lot of kind of research like goes between countries, it goes to different scientists, maybe go to medical doctors. And so if we can all use one standard system of units, then it makes the data that we, communicate with, it makes it a lot easier to understand if we all use the same units. So just like, for example, in the United States, we use Fahrenheit. Well, pretty much everywhere else in the world uses Celsius. So it's like we don't really understand as Americans like how Fahrenheit works with Celsius, like how to convert easily, like it just doesn't make sense to us. But in the scientific community, you use Kelvin actually, and because that's a better scale. That's another temperature scale other than Celsius and Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of the SI units. If you are dealing with mass, the unit for mass is a kilogram, also abbreviated kg. Now, this one is a kind of a special case because this is the only one that uses a prefix. That is the only one that uses a prefix. The rest of them are just straight base units. All right, let's talk about another one. I'm going to say length. I'm not going to say distance. I'm going to say length. Okay, that's going to be meter, and that's a lowercase m. Capital M means something completely different. All right, another one is going to be volume, and that's going to be liters, capital L. If you've had chemistry before, you know, let me go back, amount of substance. talked about this a lot in chemistry. A mole. And that's lowercase m-o-l. Another one, if you're going to talk about temperature, is going to be in Kelvin. That's the SI unit for temperature, and that is a capital K. There's no degree symbol on that capital K. Another one, let's do time. All right, so the abbreviation, well, the unit for time is seconds. There's two ways to abbreviate that. It's a lowercase s or lowercase sec. Either one of those are acceptable. I use s 99% of the time. You may see me use sec every once in a while. Anyway, they mean the same thing. All right, so now that we know units, what happens if, let's say that we have something in feet, but yet we need to put it in SI units, so we need to put it in meters. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, dimensional analysis, is what happens if you're giving something in the wrong unit and you need to get it to a different unit. So this actually happens quite often. For example, if you wanted to do something in meters per second, but in the question it gives you the time in hours, you would have to convert from hours to seconds, because 1 hour, 60 seconds, you know that. So let me give you, I got to put another page in here. Y'all hold on just a second. Let me put another page in here. All right. So let's go ahead and go into dimensional analysis. Unit analysis, whatever you want to call it. Still super important in physics. All right. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you have 30 hours. And you want to know how many seconds. You know what? Let's do one step at a time. Let's do hours. No, minutes. We're already in hours. Let's do minutes. And you want to know how many minutes are in an hour. Well, how many minutes are in 30 hours. Okay, so just at the top of your head, you'll know that the conversion factor, because you'll always need a conversion factor, you know that the conversion factor from hours to minutes, 1 hour is 60 minutes. Okay, you know that off the top of your head. At least I hope you know that. So you are going to need a conversion factor. Every single time you do anything with a dimensional analysis, you're going to need a conversion factor. Now, for my class, I always give conversion factors, unless they're just something that you should know off the top of your head, like you know that 60 seconds is a minute, things like that. Just simple stuff, 12 inches are in a foot, 3 feet in a meter, things like that. So, but when they get a little bit more complicated, like how many feet are in a mile, you may not know that one. So I'll give you those things, so don't worry about that. So let's go ahead and set this problem up. So the first thing that we do, and I'm hoping you're remembering this a little bit, the first thing that we do every single time is write down what's given. So here is our given. So it doesn't matter what problem you're doing, what class it's in, if you are having to convert between units, you always write down what's given first thing. So we're going to write down 30 hours. Now, what you have to do is set up a ratio to be able to convert between these units. So you're going to do times, and then you're going to set up your ratio. Now, here's the important thing. What you're going to do is you're going to take, you're going to take your information given, and if you've had my chemistry class before, you have probably seen this exact explanation. You're going to take the information given, you're going to take the units given and put them on the bottom, and the units that you want on top. Okay, so no matter what happens, the units that you're trying to get to need to go on top. The only time that that's not true is if you're dealing with a fraction in an answer. Maybe you have meters per second, you're trying to get to feet per hour, or meters per hour, something like that. That's the only time that that's not true. And so there's actually, when we get to that question, I will show you how to do one of those. Okay. Anyway, so we're going to set this up. So the first step is to write down what's given. So let me make some steps here. Let me erase, hold on. Step 1, write down what's given. Step 2, set up ratio. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's set up our ratio. I know that the units that I have go on the bottom, or the units that are given go on the bottom, so I'm going to put hours on the bottom. And the unit that I want is minutes, so I know that the unit that I want goes on the top, so I'm going to set that up. Now, I need numbers to go here. Okay, so the question is, where did these numbers come from? They come from your conversion factor. Don't make these up. Don't just like plug random numbers in there. Don't do it. Just use your conversion factor, okay? The information is given. All you really need to know how to do is to organize the information. That's all you're really doing here. All right, so let's plug this in. We're going to do 60 minutes because minutes has 60 with it. So they got to stay together. So 60 minutes is 1 hour. All right, so now that I have everything in here, I'm going to go ahead and do step 3, which is cancel units. All right. Now, let me kind of go to a side step for just a second. If you have something like this, okay, if you did this fraction, 1 over 2 times 2 over 3, the shortcut for this would technically be to mark the 2's out, and that answer would be 1 over 3. The same type of thing can happen here. Technically, this is still a ratio, and so you can do the same thing here. All right, so I have hours on the top, because technically this is over 1, hours on the top here, hours on the bottom here, they cancel, and so if you look, the units that are left are minutes, which is exactly what I wanted, so that's good. We did that. So now, all I have to do is put it in the calculator. All right, so remember that if I have a number on the top side of a fraction, which this one is on the top side of a fraction here, this 30, because technically it's 30 over 1, and I have a top side of a fraction here, then I multiply. If it's on top, you multiply. Now, had this been flipped and it was 1 over 60, then you would do 30 divided by 60. But since the 60 is on top, you're going to do 30 times 60. Now, that's a real simple, I don't even have to pull my calculator out for that, because 3 times 6 is 18, plus the 2 zeros. We're looking at 1,800 minutes. All right, real simple, not too hard, not too hard. Okay, so what I want to do now is look at some other examples. So now, like I said before, you will be given conversion factors. There they are. Okay, now sometimes you may have a problem that doesn't have it on there. If you're working on a homework, just Google it. It's there. Okay, maybe I forgot to put one on there. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so I'm trying to find one that's fairly easy. Let's do number 2. So it says, let me zoom in here. The moon is 250,000 miles away. How many feet is that from the Earth? Okay, step 1, write down what's a given. Let me do this in a different color. Okay, 250,000. And that's miles. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and step 2, set up my ratio. And then I need to get my units where they need to go. Units I have currently is in miles. So miles go on the bottom. What I'm looking for is feet, so feet go on the top. Now, I need to know my conversion factor between feet and miles. Okay, so let's see if we've got one from feet to miles. There's one right there, feet to miles. So we know the conversion factor, 1 mile, is equal to 5,280 feet. Okay, so we've already got our units where they need to be. So that means all we have to do now is just plug these numbers in. So 5,280 feet, so 5,280 feet, 1 mile, 1 mile. Now I'm ready to put this in my calculator. Okay, so what's super cool about me making my videos on my iPad like this is I actually have a calculator app. So that was, and y'all be able to, if you watch closely, you'll be able to see me push the buttons, because sometimes I know y'all have issues with knowing what buttons I push, especially when we start getting into sine, cosine, and tangent functions. or scientific notation. So this will be really great. Okay, anyway, so it was 250,000 times 5,000. Oh, 250,000 times 5,280. And that gives me a very large number. So let me change this into scientific notation. That is the wrong button. Wrong button. This button. No, this is sig fig. Decimal. Oh, wrong button. Y'all, hold on a second. I'm sorry. I'm still remembering how to use this thing. Oh, here we go. Scientific notation. Nope, that didn't fix it. Okay, anyway, we're going to move on. So let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. Okay, so I'm going to go back. So, oh, crap. I forgot the answer already. 7 zeros. Okay, 132. All right, there you go. There's your answer. And then your answer is feet. Now, I want to stress to you how important it is that you know how to do this. Okay? I'm not teaching you this to keep you busy. I'm not. I promise you. I never do that anyway. But this is an essential skill that you need to master, because when we get to questions that take 30 minutes to solve one question, and it fills up my entire whiteboard when I normally would teach you in front of me, when it takes 30 minutes to answer one question, this skill is what's going to save you. So please, if you don't get it, ask me a question. Okay? I can help you. That's what I'm here for. I can always help you. All right? But you have got to know how to do this. You don't really have a choice. All right. So let's get to one. Oh, let's do number 4. This one is crazy. Okay. So the question on number 4 is, I have 330 minutes per day. All I did was I just changed, instead of a fraction where it's a slash, I just put the fraction where they're on top of each other. Okay. And the question says it wants minutes per day to hours per day. Okay, so if you notice, we're only changing this top one, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and skip this one, because this one says how many seconds is in this. Okay, so basically what this is asking, let me rewrite this question. This is a ridiculous question. Okay, if I have 330 minutes per day, how many seconds per day is that? Nope, this is not the question I thought it was. Oh, and I can't edit this out of my video either. Sorry, guys. All right, let me back up here. This is not the question I thought it was. Let me look at some of these other questions. How many seconds are in a year? Oh, that would be a great question for you guys. Let me see what else I got in here. I may just have to make up a question, but let's do number 5, and then I'll do one of these really hard ones that have a fraction in units. So I'm actually going to work number 5 up here, just so I have more room. Well, no, I don't need that in there. I'm worried about that getting cut off. So y'all hold on just a second. Let me add another page, and then I'm going to do it on this other page. Okay. So the question said, how many seconds are in a year? Okay, so I'm going to rewrite that. And you should know these conversion factors, so I don't have to go back. But 1 year equals how many seconds? Okay. So 1 year. Now, we need a conversion factor at this point. Okay, we said, units that we have go on the bottom, units that we want go on the top. Here's the problem. I don't know how many seconds are in a year. I literally have no idea, because that's a conversion factor I need right now. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I don't want to. So what you do is you do like kind of like connect the dots. So like what's the next step down from year? And most of you would probably say months. Okay, the problem with months is not all the months have the same amount of days. So that's kind of a problem because it needs to be consistent. So the next step down from year would actually be days. You know how many days are in a year. So let's do that. Let's go down to days. Let's do this one step at a time. All right, I know 365.25 days in a year. Yes, it is 0.25 because it accounts for leap year. So that's 1 year. So that cancels that unit. So now we're in days. So let's do the next step down from days. So now days is technically the unit that I have. And then a unit that I want is that next step down, which will be hours. 24 hours is 1 day. Okay, so now days cancel and I'm in hours. Okay, but remember I need to get to seconds. So let's do the next step down. Hours on the bottom, minutes on the top. 60 minutes is 1 hour. Cancel hours and minutes. Still got to get to seconds. We're almost there. Okay, so minutes on the bottom, seconds on the top. 60 seconds is 1 minute. Minutes cancel. Now, if you looked, every single unit canceled except for seconds. That is exactly what I wanted. That's how you check yourself, is do they cancel. So let's put this in the calculator. So I'm going to do 1 times 365.25 times 24 times 60 times 60. So let's go to the calculator. So technically, I'm not going to put the 1 in the calculator because 1 times 365.25 is still 365.25. So I'm going to skip that 1 in the front. So I'm going to do 365.25 times 24 times 60 times 60. Okay. Oh, there it is in scientific notation. So I'm going to round this. I like my answers to be rounded to the second place after the decimal, so I'm going to round this 3.16 times 10 to the 7th. Okay, and then that's in seconds because that was a 1 unit that we didn't cancel. All right, so let's do a crazy one. Let's go from something in, let's say that I'm going 60 miles per hour. Okay, this is how you would see it most of the time. But really what this is, if we're going to put it in fraction form to be able to convert between units, it would be miles per hour. And we want our answer in meters per second because those are SI units. We use meters per second all the time in physics. You may actually have to do this in a problem later on. So it's good for you to know how much this is. So if I'm going 60 miles per hour, how fast is that in meters per second? Okay, so if you notice, let's look at the units for just a second. The top unit is going from miles to meters, and the bottom unit is going from hours to seconds. Okay, that's not too difficult. It's just when it's in a fraction and in of itself, it's kind of a nightmare. So if I'll just show you how to do this, you'll be okay. So the steps are real similar. So the first thing you do, is write down what's given. So we've got 60 miles per hour. Now, let's tackle 1 unit at a time. Okay, so I want to take care of miles first. I know that miles needs to go to meters, so let's take care of that first. So to get miles to cancel, I know I need to put miles on the bottom here, and I need to get to meters. So meters goes on the top. So let's go get a conversion factor for meters because I don't know that one off the top of my head. I have miles to kilometers. Okay, sounds like I'm going to Google. Where's Google? Oh, where's Safari? Okay. How many? Let's say how many meters are in a mile. Okay, so this is good for you to know how to do this because you may need to know how to do this. Oh, that number looks familiar. So there's 1,609.34 meters per mile. So let's go back to this page. 1,609.34 meters is equal to 1 mile. All right, so we can add that to our question here. Okay, miles is taken care of. I'm now in meters. Okay, so the top unit is taken care of. But let's take care of this hours. It needs to go from hours to seconds. Now, before we put, miles was on top, so we put miles on the bottom so it would cancel. Now that hours is on the bottom, I have to put hours up here to get it to cancel. So I'm going to put hours up top. And I'm going to seconds, so I don't know how many seconds are in an hour, so I got to go to minutes first. And then, let's see, hours going to cancel, minutes go on the top, seconds on the bottom, minutes cancel. Okay, let's fill in the numbers. 1 hour is 60 minutes, and 1 minute is 60 seconds. All right, now, watch this. This is really cool. So I needed my unit to be meters per second. If you look, I canceled everything with the exception of meters on top of the fraction and seconds on the bottom of the fraction. That is exactly how it's written here. All right, so let's put this thing in the calculator. So I'm going to do 60 times 1,609.34 divided by 60 divided by 60. Okay, so here's how you put this in the calculator. 60 times 1,609.34. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, divided by 60, hit enter, divide by 60 again, and hit enter. Why is there a fraction? I don't know why there's a fraction. There it is. Okay, 4.47 times 10 to the negative first. Well, I hope so. Looks like it divided it by 60 again. Let me try this again. So 60 times 1,609.34, hit enter, divide by 60, hit enter, divide by 60 again, and hit enter. Okay, that's correct. 2.68 times 10 to the first. Oh, that's in laser pointer. Hold on. 2.68 times 10 to the first. And that is in meters per second. So if you wanted to put that into non-scientific terms, that would be 26.8 meters per second. All right. Okay, again, I just want to stress to you how important it is that you know this skill. Okay, if you are not understanding this, then you can go to YouTube, because YouTube's unblocked on the Chromebooks now, and just type in dimensional analysis or unit analysis or unit conversions. Okay, this is a skill you need to master. I mean, let alone that we've got a test coming up not before too long, you have got to master this skill. Okay, I'm available if you need me. Find me on Google Chat, whatever you got to do. Good luck.